Alright, what's going on, guys? Chili Games back again with another video. Something to get out of the way before this video starts is I am not feeling the best, so if I sneeze or sniffle or whatever, just sound a little bit off, I'm not feeling the greatest. However, we're bringing you a video in the Worcester, obviously. As a CC, they give us these legendary bureau projects for about a week, just to preview them and to give you guys an idea of do I want to go for this or not. So anyways, the Wooster. The beginning of this game is kind of slow, so I'm going to use that to kind of talk over some things and mainly compare this to the Cleveland. This will be basically how I judge it, and if you like the Cleveland, then you could like Worcester, but there's some things that the Worcester does and the things that it can't do compared to the Cleveland that are just a little bit iffy. And in my opinion, the Cleveland overall is better. The Cleveland is also the top performing tech tree cruiser, so it could get a nerf at some point. They did that with the Fantastic and stuff like that. So, oh boy, I am running EOP on this build, standard Scott full fire build. Nothing too crazy there. Propulsion mod, reload mod. And you see my range here is probably around 15 kilometers or so. I haven't, we'll get a look in a second. And this spawn really sucks, especially for cruisers that with high arcing shells and cruisers that definitely like to have island cover. This is a place where I can't push myself. I am too vulnerable because there is a Yamato coming from the middle spawn. That means that there is another 3 ships that are around here. As you see me kind of looking at the turret traverse now. I guess I'm going to talk over the Worcester real quick, and then I will kind of interject places where I think the Cleveland is better. So the Worcester, compared to the Cleveland, has a base fire chance that is 3% lower, and obviously the turret setup is different. You have 6x2. And as you see the angles right there, which is actually a perfect time to mention it, the turret angles are not the best. As you can see there, I'm already giving a decent amount of side, especially for any kind of cruiser like the Alaska, who wants to shoot AP, who is actually right there. And shooting from the bow or the stern, you can only get 2 turrets going, which really, really hurts your DPM. Something to note about the Wooster is it does have a 32mm bow and stern, so you can technically bow tank 406mm guns. I think this is a kind of bad design. One, because the USN light cruisers have these very high arcing shells that are meant to be taking advantage of island covers, like I was doing against the Yamato there. So you're not supposed to be bow tanking or kiting or whatever in these kind of ships. You want to be as close as possible to a cab circle or an island to where you can be effective. Again, only with 15-kilometer range, you're not going to be shooting too much at super long ranges, so much like the Atlanta and all that kind of stuff. The 32mm bow is kind of pointless in my opinion, and that is seen as a buff over Cleveland. If it were me, I would give the Worcester a standard 25mm bow and stern and probably increase the reload or whatever. That's just me. I don't think battleship caliber bows should be on light cruisers. Edinburgh can get away with it, but it just seems a little bit ridiculous to me, and it doesn't really benefit the play style for the ship at all. So another thing about the Worcester, it has amazing AA, and whether that remains to be actually a good thing or a bad thing, because AA doesn't seem to matter too much. If you have seen my carrier videos, you know, even with the Shikaku planes who have less health than the Lexington, you can still drop every target that you want to. The only times that you won't be able to drop a target is if you run straight through an attack squadron, or if the other person specs the FAA in the consumable slot. But other than that, you're going to be able to get a strike off every single time. So we can effectively say that the Worcester's gimmick over the Cleveland is the 32mm bow and stern, which, how I said, in my opinion, was pointless for this type of ship and this type of play style, and the really good AA. Now, the problem with that is one of my fellow CCs, MetaJerk, actually said last night that he spec'd fully into AA for the Wooster for 15 games or something like that, and he got 0 carrier games. Now, since you're a legendary tier cruiser, there are no tier 7 or legendary tier carriers, so you can never division with a carrier to guarantee that you're going to be actually getting benefits out of your AA buffs and stuff like that. So I think in the past 2 days I have run into 3 carrier games out of maybe, I would say 30-ish. So telling yourself that you're going to spec a ship into AA, what is that, like 90% of the time, is going to be kind of useless, because if there's no carriers in the game, then you're missing a lot of other benefits from speccing into other skills. So it has a 98 overall rating anyways. I think that's decent enough. Anything over that's kind of overkill, and you really probably won't see that much of a difference unless you're running DFAA as the consumable. That's just my opinion. If carriers happened every single game, or at least, 50-60% of the time, it would be fun to take this kind of thing out and do it. Or if you could division with a carrier in tier 7, you can effectively guarantee a carrier every game in those kind of games. So it would be really fun to use AA builds during that. So after saying all of that, we are going to be setting up for a juicy encounter with the enemy Amalfi here with the Shimakaze and B. We're in a quite of a weird spot, but we can't sit behind that island. We have to push up. We are losing. We are losing very badly on points as well. So even though we are a light cruiser, we kind of have to make our own luck here. The Amalfi comes out broadside, and we take care of them. The AP, again, is amazing. Cleveland's AP is amazing. We actually catch the Shimakaze out here as well. And this is going to be a good example of EOP coming in not clutch, because EOP takes away from your raw HE damage, and as you will see after this salvo here, if we had 10% more damage on each of those salvos, the Shimakaze would be dead. Thankfully for us, he does have a fire, and we narrowly are trying to squeak past this torpedo, and we actually do. So, skill, obviously. Thankfully, the Shimakaze does have a fire on him, so he will be going down right about now. I was thinking about backing up to the Ochakov, but again, these super floaty shells at 10 kilometers, you are still gonna kind of struggle, especially with a super maneuverable target like Ochakov. You really can't expect much from these kind of shots. It's almost a waste of time, and that is exactly what I decided here. I decided, hey, I need to get into the cap circle. We really need to get some points back. Our Shimakaze is avoiding the cap circles because obviously that is a big no-no for DDs apparently. If you want to get better at destroyers and you want to see bigger scores on the scoreboard, cap circles give you probably the most XP in the game, just because there is so much to do there. You can usually reset destroyers, do lots of damage to targets because you're closer, and getting a solo cap gives you a ton of points. So if you're in a DD and there's a free cap circle there, definitely prioritize it, and obviously winning games gets you more XP across the board. So coming up here versus the Yamato, we're actually in a really nice spot. No one's to our left. The only thing over there is the Ochakov, and that Vanguard in the enemy team, thankfully, is still AFK. And it was about this time where I was like, you know what, we are so down on points. Even though he's AFK and he's not presenting a target or threat to any of our guys, if he dies, that gives us points, which will put us in the lead, and I would hate to lose to a guy who's AFK. So while the Yamato is on fire and our Shimakaze is on the flank, I like to go for the Vanguard here, and I guess I'm gonna let this kind of roll. So my opinions on the Wooster, I think it's decent. If you could guarantee, if you could division with a carrier and you could benefit from the AA every single game, or at least 50% of the time, I think it would be a very fun ship. But other than that, if you're not in a carrier game, it's effectively a really big and clunky Cleveland with worse gun angles and again a 32mm bow, which can give you some options in late game, but for the most part, when you're sitting behind cover like I am here, you really want the guns to be singing as much as possible. The Wooster also has 100 less HE alpha, so it has the same reload, less HE alpha, and a 3% chance of fire, lower than the Cleveland, which really just makes it a weird ship, especially when you have to give a lot more broadside to get all of the guns going. So it's just, in my opinion, I think the Cleveland is better. You don't need the bow armor. You really just play it close around islands, and luckily this Ochakov is going to go down. I'm coming out here to brawl with this guy because even when he had full health, I knew he was going to try and torpedo and get desperate, and there they are. And so while he was distracted trying to do that, I was thinking, you know what, let's just go ahead and get this guy off the board. I can probably surprise him because he doesn't know that I'm here. So before this game ends, kind of just the final thoughts. If you like the Cleveland, you could like the Worcester, but I think you will like the Cleveland much better. Just from a gun standpoint, just for an ease of use standpoint, and the Yamato actually gets a pretty good strike on us. We are going for the Kraken here, but the Shima in their spawn actually gets the kill. So unfortunately, we don't squeak away with that. This was kind of just the general impressions of the Worcester. I did not play it too much in the rental period because it was the exact same, and my opinion still stands where I just didn't want to play it because I felt that the Cleveland was better overall. But not too bad of a game, and I hope that I can get into some carrier games to really see what this AA is made of. But other than that, guys, I hope you enjoyed, and let me know if you're going to pursue the Worcester in the Legendary Bureaus. Anyways, guys, excuse me. Y'all take it easy. I'll see you next time. Peace.